34 years in law enforcement. It's not an easy job. Some people put in their 20 and go to retirement, not you. Talk about how you got your start and what you did working up through the ranks.
No, I appreciate the question. 34 years, yes, I look back and it seems like yesterday sometimes. Sometimes it seems like eternity. It is definitely a challenging career. I got my start. My father was actually in law enforcement for many years. Didn't really think about it, but then I realized there was a calling to be in public safety and decided that I would actually be a law enforcement officer. Back in the day, there were thousands of people lined up to put in for the job. So I did put in some apps in other agencies, but also the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and they were one of the first ones to hire me in 1990. And through the ranks, I mean, I was, one thing I looked about the Sheriff's Office, there was a lot of opportunity for diverse assignments, community relations type assignments, lake patrol, SWAT, TOU investigations. Again, growing up with my father being attached to the agency, I realized those opportunities existed. So I never looked back after applying for the Sheriff's Office and making it through the academy, and have looked back and enjoyed my career quite a bit. It's been very self-rewarding, worked a multitude of areas, had some initiatives to work in new and innovative areas within the office, computer crimes being one of them as a sergeant, and went through computer forensics, which was very enlightening to me. One of the other areas was the Court Implementation Division, which in October of 2013, having to take a court order, a federal court order, and start setting aside the reforms that were needed for the agency and provide those educational components, as well as starting to interface with the parties, the judge, and making sure that we were moving on the right path to carry out those duties. And then I got the nod and under Sheriff Penzone's term to come up to executive command, and worked in areas in patrol as a deputy chief, and the compliance bureau as an executive chief, and ultimately the chief deputy for the last 6 years.
It's a big difference, the then and now. And working your way through the ranks, you've seen what the department was like under then Sheriff Arpaio, the big shift when Penzone took over leadership. Talk about the differences in that, because we have federal oversight where you have maybe people in the community who are still like, we're demanding change, they're still not changing. What would you say to them about what you've seen firsthand of the differences in this department from the Arpaio to Penzone to now tenure?
Yeah, and I think a little bit of it is, I've worked for 3 administrations. I came in under Agnos, worked for Arpaio obviously for the 24 years, and then Penzone. I didn't play executive leadership roles in prior administrations, so went out and did my job for the most part. Wasn't really, I guess, impacted by some of the things. Was given the latitude to make sure that we were providing law enforcement services appropriately out there and working with the community. But obviously in October of 2013, I was assigned to the Court Implementation Division and became very aware of some of the issues involving the required need for reform. Didn't know some of the historical, but learned very quickly of some of the historical and some of those specialized units. I was committed to obviously carrying out those duties to make sure that we came in compliance with it, that we were doing the requirements relative to that. I think towards the shift, I think getting a fresh eye sometimes with Sheriff Penzone, came in with a fresh eye, maybe a fresh approach that was different than prior leadership. Not to say one way or the other with either one, but gave me then that opportunity to be more at the executive level and help drive the mission even further. I think looking at our current compliance statistics and numbers, we're sitting in a good light. We still have a ways to go. The biggest thing for me was that community facet, to be able to interface with the community, to educate them, what we were going through, and let them know that although there were things that happened in the back, historical with the agency, it wasn't throughout the agency. And we're committed to serving our community and hopefully regaining that ground to build those partnerships that are necessary, that every community wants with their law enforcement, their public servants, beyond law enforcement, firefighters, postal workers. I mean, people rely on these services, and we have to have a good working relationship, a non-fractured communication. I think there were areas that were there before. Sheriff Penzone did a lot with building communication, I think, in the community areas. And, I'm not either one of them. I hope to be able to continue measures forward. One of the things that I do have that they don't is the institutional knowledge of the agency and how we've evolved over the last 34 years and continue to evolve. And I think that goes for law enforcement throughout the nation. I mean, law enforcement this day and age is much different in the last 5 years than it was the last 10 years, and obviously back in the last 3 decades has definitely changed. So we need to be on the cutting edge of making sure that we're building those programs and we're interfacing with the community as much so that they have the trust and transparency with their law enforcement. I think we've conquered a lot of that, but I think there are areas that we still need to improve upon, and we'll continue. The big thing that I have is that the staff is committed to it. The staff is in this for the right reasons. They join the sheriff's office, they work in the detention facilities, they're 911 dispatchers. They want to make a difference. They want to make an impact on their community. I'm one of them, which is, especially important to me, and humbles me quite a bit because I understand what they're trying to do, and I'm going to help support them with that, and hopefully help support the community and the prospect of knowing more about the agency and keeping that going.
I have spoken with other deputies throughout the years, many who left the department during the Arpaio era because it was like, this is the worst of the worst. We're, facing this federal court order, but things were bad. And many people said, it's time for me to get out of here. I can't do this. Were you one of those deputies in the ranks? I don't know where you were at the time of the peak of the Arpaio immigration roundup sweeps and all that stuff. Were you one of the deputies who were like, on my watch, I'm going to do the best I can, and I want to be part of making this department better? Were you aware of how bad it was in the moment?
No, I don't think I was aware of some of the things that came out in the lawsuit and the litigation that was going on. I was a Lake Patrol lieutenant. I think at one point maybe some resources would be pulled to utilize just for enforcement details, not necessarily roundup details or anything of that nature. Again, I don't think I had a great awareness of it until it was actually transferred to the Court Implementation Division in October of 2013. That obviously provided a lot of education and background, and knew we had some road to gain on this perspective. And for me, it was more or less just making sure the mission and the task and making sure our staff was provided opportunities to continue. This is a career. I mean, the thing is the head of the agency can change. The head of the agency may not be impacted as much as the employees. These are people that come in and they want to do the right thing, and we want to make sure we give them the tools to succeed and provide an environment that they enjoy coming to, just like any employer would. So there may have been some pockets, but I did not have that full awareness. The places that I worked were very supportive of the mission of the office, which was provide that level of public safety necessary to the community and continue to build those community relationships.
Would you ever have expected to see yourself in the seat you're in now?
No, it's funny because this has given me opportunity to truly reflect on my career. If I look back, it's like, how is this even possible? This being an elected position or appointed position, I think a lot of law enforcement throughout their career, first of all, never see themselves as a head of an agency, a leader with the agency. Typically, police chiefs, municipal police chiefs, there's an interview process, there's a process in place that when they go to apply for it, they know what to expect, and that probably is some look for the aspiration to attain to that. Elected official or appointed official, I never thought in a million years would be something I would pursue, nor did I think I kind of fell into opportunity for it. And for me, it's just amazing. It's again, surreal, I guess is the best way to explain it. A lot of people out there probably heard me say that because even as a chief deputy, even as in the executive command, for me, was never in the cards of projection. I think a lot of us in law enforcement, sergeant, lieutenant, but being in executive leadership is truly an honor and a privilege to be able to serve in that role because there's a lot of responsibility to it. There's a lot of liability to it too as well. And I think the biggest thing is just having that full focus of perspective where you're supporting your staff, but you're also mitigating those liabilities out there. You're mitigating those issues that might get the agency or them from a safety perspective or from a litigation perspective. You got to be able to balance it all. And so it's a huge undertaking, but one I'm willing to take because I think it was inherent in me that this is the right thing to do and the calling and the need to rise up and do it, because I think that's why we get in this profession anyways. There's some type of calling there, and whatever level on the scale that it gets to, you continue to take on that challenge and hopefully serve with the best of your ability.
We talked about the spotlight being pretty hot in this seat in particular compared to other departments. How did your family feel about it? You know, like
Yes.
sheriff under federal court monitor, how do
Yes.
they feel about that?
I think obviously they're always, been very supportive. My family throughout, obviously being law enforcement almost their entire lives, adult lives, especially now, both my kids, their entire lives, but they've been very supportive, very respective to law enforcement and the job that I do. I think with it comes a little bit of, for me, I think most law enforcement's a little private, likes a little downtime. If you wind up going out to dinner, you don't want really people to recognize you, you wear the ball cap or whatever. It's a little more in the spotlight, which I think we're not used to or ready for. But nonetheless, it's the right thing to do, I think, for the employees. So we've risen to the occasion to hopefully go down that road. And however long it lasts, we'll see. I mean, there's a process that I'm not familiar with, but trying to certainly put my name in the hat and go through it. If I'm successful, great. If not, I know I did the best I could to try to get through that and hope continue to support the calling for it.
How do you find balance outside of work? What kind of hobbies do you keep?
Yeah, right now there is zero balance. It literally, this whole election process, I'll just say, or campaign process, has consumed a lot of my times. But I'm an outdoors person. I love, in fact, even on the weekends, I'm either out in the garage or working, take my mountain bike out, go to the gym. I try to go to the gym every day to make sure I stay in my uniform fit and it fits all right. Do a lot with going up north, hiking as we can. I have a Jeep, so I like to adventure a little off-road when I have opportunities. Unfortunately, the last few years has been more dedicated to the career than it is to my hobbies. My hope and aspiration is I get good at golf someday. I do like to play golf, but my game isn't so much that it supports a good round.
Well, your dad put in multiple decades. Who knows what the future will hold for you? But when I talked to Paul Penzone after he had announced that he was leaving office, I said, "Who would want this job? Why you?"
That's a great question. Why me? Again, I think opportunity is certainly the reason I'm here. How is it even possible? I step up. Why me? Because I want to continue the drive and the mission for the agency and for this community. Again, I could step away. I'm at the point where I have my tenure, my pension set, spend more time with my family, which I'd really enjoy. But I also have to think about the 3,000 plus employees for the sheriff's office, this community, the progress that they have made in getting to this point in time. And if I turn my back on it, I feel that I might regret that. So I've decided to take on that challenge and continue forward. I ask myself, why me? I think Sheriff Penzone always had the, if not you, then who? Maybe that resonated a little bit, that there are people that have to step up and do this job. And that goes even for all law enforcement. We need people to step up and be public servants and be law enforcement and detention officers, 911 dispatchers, food service. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We have tons of jobs that need to be filled across the nation. And I hope that people take that calling and hopefully start satisfying that vacancy rate so that we can make sure and fill it with the right people that want to do it for the right reasons.
Lots of challenges, and there are routine challenges. I'll say routine because there's no such thing as routine in law enforcement. Routine challenges, but also political. And that came into the fray very early on, even just changing your political parties to qualify for this appointment. Were you surprised that got so much interest from critics? Like, is he the right man for this or what?
Yeah, to me, again, I've never been a political person. One thing I think my father always told me is, politics don't play anything in law enforcement. Working for an elected, position in the sheriff's office, you want to do your job. You're doing this for the right reasons. You want to be able to carry out the tasks and duties every day, depending on who that person is that gets elected in or out of office. That may change. But I don't tie myself to a political affiliation. And obviously lately politics has become more of a conversation with some of the polarization. You know, we see what's happened to Maricopa County. Election cycles used to be fairly, you know, patterned and tamed. We've had a lot of obviously outcry to the effect of the process, which has been kind of certainly an eye-opener to me. But as far as the position goes, I signed up to make sure that I did my job in an unbiased manner, make sure that I do my job to serve the public. And politics, left or right, don't play a position in that at all. So I was really surprised that people would make a statement or be critical without asking me why I got into, or why I switched my party, or why I wanted to pursue this position. And simply the reason is I wanted to be able to give back to the agency and continue on. It wasn't anything from self-serving. It wasn't anything politically decided or charged. It was, there are requirements. You know, the sheriff is an elected official, and your appointment has to align with that. I wanted to give the board, the community, and our employees a choice that I could at least put in for the position and be either chosen or not chosen by the Board of Supervisors. So at least be viable to do so, and that was one of the requirements. I have no desire to switch parties back or run on a different ticket, because again, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter here in this position.
And more so than the politics of like Republican or Democrat, I'm talking about like the politics of playing nice with the federal monitor. So when that comes into play, your predecessor, Penzone, said he did not believe that the Civil Division of the Department of Justice was acting in good faith. What's your take on that?
You know, I'm probably low-level politics for me. I've just dealt with the federal monitor, the monitoring team. There's a court order over the agency, and we have requirements to do. I don't think I'm in a position, or would I be in a position, to arm wrestle any viewpoint on that from a political take. You know, there are things that obviously, as we continue to provide what's needed relative to the reform process and compliance process, that, you know, there might be vested interest from attorneys that, you know, again, we answer to the board, we answer to the people. If there's questions that come up on that, then, you know, we'll ask them, or there'll be a procedure for that. But you know, politics is a new venue for me. These are waters I have not navigated, so I'm not looking at anything from a political angle right now.
And obviously, Merrick Garland wrote a memo saying, you know, that he wants to recommend changes and everything. But I understand you're looking at things
that's
like
probably
that.
very territory I'm not even aware of at this point.
I will ask you, though, our legislature is pursuing a handful of immigration bills at the state capitol right now. One is very similar to SB 1070. You were obviously working for the department when that happened. Do you have any take on those potential legislative bills that could happen for, you know, people asking for immigration reform, asking law enforcement to, you know, enforce federal law here?
Yeah, we don't, obviously, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office is a county agency, does not enforce federal law. Secondly, we're enjoined from enforcing any type of immigration law by federal court order. These are issues that need to be, you know, obviously taken up with the federal government, if there's some at the legislature, but these are federal laws that you're talking about that need to be taken up with the federal government. We don't get involved in that. We will not get involved in that. You know, our job is just the role of making sure we provide ethical, unbiased public safety, and we will continue to do that. It has nothing to do with enforcing federal laws or getting into the business of immigration.
Yeah.